activated. Your weekly football fix kicks off now.
You can follow the LFC Total Red Football Podcast on X, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok.
Total Red Football Podcast with myself, Kings. Joining me tonight, I've got Neil and Matty, and hopefully very soon we'll have Kev as well. Tonight we'll be talking about Hugo Ekitiki's proposed move from Eintracht Frankfurt. Darwin News's hat-trick yesterday in the behind closed doors game against Stoke. Should we keep him? Should we let him go? There's a debate there. Another scorer in that game was Federico Chiesa. He hasn't been included in the squad that's gone on the Asia Tour. So is he on his way out? And also we're going to talk about Arne Slot. And is he going to have a fixed formation while he's on the field with the players? Or is he going to have a fluid adaptation maybe after all these summer signings he's made? So we'll get straight into it. Welcome along, Neil. How are you?
Hello. Yeah, all good, thanks. All good, thanks. Seems to be a lot happening at the moment, so trying to keep up with everything that's going on. There's links all over the place. So, yeah, it's been a strange, very strange summer from a transfer perspective, but positive.
Yeah, Matty, how's yourself? You okay?
Yeah, not bad. It feels weird to be in a transfer window at Liverpool, probably the most active club in the world. It's just, I've never experienced this in my life ever. So it's nice. I'm intrigued to see how they all gel together, and I'm excited for the season to start now, to be honest.
I mean, there's lots of rumours around, and this before we talk about obviously Ekitiki and maybe others, but we've seen different names banded around, and you get this every summer for every club, and it's just that there's probably agents and themselves, getting it out there, just linking them with teams, hopefully going to get a better deal at their current club or, maybe at a new club. But we seem to have had, I don't know, a hell of a lot of links this time. And that comes, I suppose, because it seemed, because we didn't buy anybody last year at all, only Chiesa for, 10 million or so. It just seems like, right, they've got deep pockets now, full of money, and then all of a sudden they're having this splurge. So it's linking more players as well as they're buying lots of players. So it's just been, in a way, a bit overwhelming, I suppose, all the links that they've had. Neil, I'll come to you about it first. So just looking at, obviously there's Kirkers, there's Frimpong, there's Wirtz, Ekitiki, and there's defenders being mentioned, other wingers, Diaz leaving and maybe Rodrigo coming. It's like, this could be an epic transfer window, couldn't it? If it all falls into place like it seems to be at the moment.
Yeah, it does feel like that, and I think before the window, the things that needed to be addressed were at left back, and I'll be honest, what I saw from Kirkes against Preston was fantastic. So I'm excited about him. Right back, we've got competition for Connor Bradley with Frimpong, with Trent leaving. And we needed a centre forward, and we've now, we're getting close to that being finalised. So I think the priority positions have probably been sorted. Wirtz coming in is, no one expected it, and he's just class, and will add add so much to the team. So now I think it feels like there's a lot of moving parts. Quanta's gone, so the priority for me now is probably a centre back. But should Luis Diaz or Darwin leave, then I think we're also going to need to prioritise signings in attack. So I think we've done more or less what we planned to do, other than maybe the centre back, and now everything is kind of reacting to people going out, I think. Yeah. But it's been an interesting watch.
Matty, over the years we've had a lot of discussion about FSG out because they don't put their hands in their pockets when maybe the fans thought they should, and then they could say, oh, we've lost out on a title because we didn't sign X player. Whether that's actually true, if we'd have signed or not, who knows, because it didn't happen. Are you surprised that it's been so kind of full on, or were you expecting this because Arne Slot wants to build his own side?
I wasn't surprised, to be honest. I've always been on the fence with FSG. But I seen something the other day, and it just made a lot of sense that over the past, you could probably say Klopp's whole tenure. To be fair, they've had the training ground to pay off, the two stands to
Yeah.
pay off, and we've seen it with Arsenal as well when they first
Mhm.
moved to Emirates. They
Yeah.
didn't spend as much for the first few years. Now, Liverpool Football Club are probably one of the biggest grossing revenues in world football, maybe behind Madrid and Barca. I think I don't know, statistically we've surpassed United on that as well, but we make enough money, and there's a fantastic person on Twitter, Mo Chatra, and he always talks about our finances, and the money was always there, and I think that's where a lot of the FSG outers were, and if people seem to forget, and you'd say to people like, we've got the training grounds, like, oh yeah, training ground FC, but we have got one of the best, if not the best, training
Yeah.
facilities in the world, and that costs money. We've been paying that off for years, as would the stands. The stands cost a lot of money, and with the new stands, it's brought increased revenue. So I think you can probably expect Liverpool to spend the similar to what they are this summer every summer. Now I know we're getting rinsed because of all the stuff we said about City, and now we're spending like that, but our owners have always said if there's the right opportunities there, they'd go and buy that player. Now, nobody probably expected Florian Wirtz to even leave Germany. Everyone thought he'd go to Bayern. That opportunity comes up. You're not turning it down. He's a
Yeah.
generational talent, and we've seen it. Although we failed, we've seen it with Bellingham. We went in for him. We've seen it with Casado. So Liverpool are prepared to spend the money if the opportunity is there. And I think a lot it's silenced a lot of the real FSG outers because, in fairness, they're probably one of the best ownerships in the league. We're probably one of the best run football clubs in the world when you weigh it up. We never breach PSR. We've just went and spent 200 odd million, probably more, probably talking 300-400 million by the time the summer's done. There's no chance we'll breach PSR because of it, because we're so well run. We generate high profit for academy players. They sell players really, really well. Like Kwanzaa, we got big money for him. He's not the money he went for. You'd expect much more of a centre back, not someone who's only had really a season in first team football. And I just think we're so very well run, and I think this is like the sign of things to come. Unless we go and extend the Kenny in a few years, but I think for now, the training grounds paid off, both the stands are paid off, and Liverpool are now just going to start spending the money that they do earn. And I think this is just the sign of things to come. I think next summer again is another big summer. You're probably replacing Mo Salah and Van Dijk before they go into their last years. So I think this is just Liverpool now, and people are all shocked by it. It's never happened before, but I think we do need to take a minute to step back and think, well, we've got a brand new training ground. We've paid both of them stands off, and the work that FSG have done outside of the actual playing squad, it's amazing, really. And the fact he went and won every single trophy in that time as well. Again, Arnie Scott, he hit the nail on the head getting him. Like, no one had heard of him, and look how good
Yeah.
he's been since he came in and stuff. They just don't miss, especially with Michael Edwards. Even this Akita, everyone's saying, oh, I don't know about him. If Michael Edwards tells me that they're going to go and sign someone off the street and he's going to play for us, I'd say, okay, mate, because he doesn't get it wrong. You can't think of any player Liverpool have ever got wrong under Michael Edwards. There's just not one.
I think when you picked up that about Arsenal, the way they obviously had to pay off their stadium, etc. There's a lot of money in football, and we all say like, well, the TV money can subsidize maybe not even having fans to a point, and things like that. But having a top of the range training ground and then 2 brand new stands ultimately is going to benefit you in the long run, as we've seen, because of increased revenues and potentially more talent coming through the training regimes that they've set up. So you have to invest in the infrastructure to gradually get better facilities, and then that way you earn more money, you get better players. Now, I've been surprised this summer. I've said to a few people they're never going to spend on Vert, etc. And then 2 weeks later, there's a thing saying, "Here we go, we've bought him," and it's like, that's amazing. I'm chuffed to bits, to be honest. Very surprised. Then you look at the left back, the right back situation, and now this coming out about Ekitike, and it's just like, wow, I'm gobsmacked, but I'm thrilled at the same time. If Arne Slot can come in with Klopp's team and do what he did, he changed it so it wasn't so full on. It was a slower, more tactical kind of build up, and then win the game. Kind of, if he can do that with players that maybe he's like, well, I can work with him, but he's not necessarily 100% what I want. Then he's now coming along saying, well, this play would really suit what I want. I'm really excited for the season to come. And we talked about it last week that potentially, could we go back to back? And now I'm looking at it and I was thinking, no, it's not going to happen, because the Premier League's a hard trophy to win, especially when you've got teams like City spending all their money and Chelsea. Obviously, Arsenal this time have spent a load of money, and you think it's going to be really tough. But I'm looking at the players who we're signing, and I can definitely see there's a very good chance here that we could go back to back. I'm going to break off slightly and just say, all right, to Kev, welcome.
All right, boys. Sorry I'm a bit late.
It's all right. It's not a problem. Now, we've just been talking about how obviously the signings that we've made so far, did you expect maybe FSG to put their hand in their pockets so much and potentially even more yet? It's a lot of money they're spending out, isn't it?
It is. But if you look at what happened last year, there was going to come a time where we were going to spend, and not to the level that I thought it was. I think that's taken us back a little bit. But even so, it was still inevitable that something like this was going to happen. I think this was similar to what we wanted to do in 1920, but then COVID came in, and then you're stuck financially from a COVID point of view around that. And FSG are going to be very tentative with that. So they're not going to spend. Broadcasting rights weren't going to be where they're going to change completely. So there's a lot of financial things that us as fans shouldn't be looking at, but that's what they were looking at that time. Yeah. This has now come to fruition, and I've got to say I'm impressed how ruthless, how efficient it's been, how professional we've been, and also how fluid this team is looking with the players that we brought in. We have been worried about what's going to happen in 2 years' time. I don't think we need to do that now with the signings that we have done. If we were to lose Salah, I think if we get an Isaac, or if Rodrigo comes in, the creativity's been moved from right back into in a central formation with Wirtz. You've got an Andy and a Trent from yesteryear that we've been waiting for, and someone as rapid as Frimpong is unbelievable. You're looking at front four now. I don't think there's nothing better in world football at the minute that can actually argue that can say that. And with the Wirtz behind, it's unbelievable how fluidity this team is, and how fluid we are, and how creative this team's gone. To that, if Salah was to have an injury, you have enough in there that can cover that. And and I think people are not looking at that actual part of it. If you look how we planned for this hasn't been picking players out at Football Manager level. This is bringing out people out ruthlessly that will help us and get us better. You look at what we're trying to do with Diaz. If Diaz goes, Rodrigo potentially comes in. That's an upgrade for the similar amount of money. I'll be honest, I don't see any other transfer window where a club has done as what we've done in an efficient way that we have done. And that plays into how we've come across. I'll be honest, I didn't expect it to be as good as what it has. I was skeptical of how it was going to happen, mainly because of what we've heard in the past. We've heard war chests and stuff like that. But then I've gone back today to what Virgil said in what made him say about his contract renewal, in the fact that the management this is going to be a big summer. But how many of us took that as actually going to be a big summer? None of us took that. And you look back now and you think, wow, he's been sold something there. And you can see it in fruition of what we're doing. And the beauty of it is, these aren't players that are coming to the end of the year, at the end of their tenure at football, which is what usually happens when you see big players and stardom come. Instead, you've got people of a very young age that are going to be here for the next 5 to 10 years. And this is sending tremors that I've never seen that a football club's done down the line, because there is a potential that this could go back to back because of how good this team is. And that's virtually in every position. The only weakness we probably got is if Virgil was to have an injury. Everywhere else seems to be covered to an extent that you've got basically 2 quality players in every position. And that says a lot to how well we've planned this. And if this has been going on since last year, all what we said about Hughes has got to be taken back, because he has been put on the front foot at this in this window, and he has not let go of that actual accelerator. He is continuing to burn through. And if you think about, and the worst thing about it is, from a rival fan, is if we were to sell Diaz, Nunes, Elliott, Morton, and anyone else that you can think of, that still covers what we would even have to pay for Isaac, Rodrigo, and Gui if he was to come in. It's unprecedented, and that's why I think it took us all by surprise, because I don't think we had this. We thought we could do this, but it's fantastic at the minute, and I'm happy with my popcorn and watching all the other fans, rival fans, kicking off and abusing us for doing this. But the beauty of it is as well, the PSR. You can't come to us with that because it's all within the boundaries. We're playing equal games now. Unbelievable. I'm made up. I'm impressed, to be honest.
You can follow the LFC Total Red Football Podcast on X, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok.
Have you seen on social media that we're obviously still using the Coutinho money? We had so much for him at the time. It's like, because fans are a bit, I think, gobsmacked that Liverpool are spending, because they haven't done that, and it is brilliant to see. But the way they've run the club over the last few years, where everybody else, and I'm not going to pick out any teams in particular, but where they've just kind of spent, and then not worried, they've worried afterwards. Liverpool have been quite prudent in how they do this PSR. And we've been reading about it over the last few weeks. They're well within the limits. So that makes this even sweeter to a point. Like you say, it's just nice to think, spend the money and we don't have to worry about it.
And I think we're also spending a bit of the Benteke money that we got from Villa, from where he went to. So, there's a lot of people here that are playing towards this. I think we found the 50 million from Torres that we got from Chelsea as well. So, there's quite a few there that I would say, even, the money that we may have got from Neil Ruddock as well. So there's loads there that we can actually look at and go, yeah, that's the. But it just shows that, we done something last year that no one thought could be possible, which is win a league without a summer transfer window, if we're being truthfully honest, with the minutes that weren't played by Chiesa. And this year we're going to show you that team's nowhere near capable to what this team's going to be going forward, because this is an unprecedented upgrade by any team. And I'm struggling myself. I haven't seen it in a Liverpool. I haven't seen it in any rival. Even when Mourinho took over Chelsea, there's not been that many that you could look at and go, well, that's on par to what we're doing at the minute. And there's still potentially another 2 or 3 coming in. That's the scary thing.
I think that's where I'm excited. I mean, Neil, if there is a defender, maybe a winger coming in, and there's always talk of an extra striker, because unfortunately what's happened to Liverpool over the summer, we lost a striker in Diogo Jota. So there may be 2 up front. So that potentially could be 2, like Kev said, 2 or 3 more players coming in. It's like, are you excited to watch this side now? And maybe just kind of like, wow, this is something special, hopefully.
Yeah, I think it's difficult not to be excited, because I think we've not been used to this, and I think, as you say, with more players potentially to be added, it's kind of mind blowing. So for me, I don't remember being as excited as I am about the upcoming season. Yes, we did criticise Richard Hughes last summer. He may have got away with it a little bit because the manager came in and steered us to a title, so he may have got away with it. But it does look like it's been precision planning over the last 12 months to go in, sort out where we think we needed to address the issues in the squad. And we've just got this fantastic array of players that, as Kev said, we've seen limited pre-season action, but what we've seen, it looks terrific. And I think one of the things I think when you compare the signings, the level of signings we're making compared to the level of signings that Chelsea, Arsenal, etc. are making, I think the players we're bringing in are a class above. Florian Wirtz, Matty said it, generational talent. Ekitike, Newcastle wanted Ekitike before they signed Isak. He's got everything in his armoury to be Isak and better. Now, whether he delivers that, we'll have to wait and see. Kirkes, I think, is going to be outstanding. So, yes, I think other teams have made good signings. I think we've made top signings, and we still may add to that. And I think we're benefiting from a business that's been well run. I think we're benefiting from other teams now being a bit constrained because PSR seems to be quite strong, and that's not allowing some freedom that maybe the clubs have had in the past. So, all of the work that we've done in the infrastructure, the way we've run our business, the way we've grown revenues, and now the success we've had on the pitch, we're now building for a really, really exciting future. And it's a really good point that Kev made, because a lot of people say after we won the title last time, we didn't really do that much business. Well, I think we bought in Diogo, we bought in Thiago, but potentially we may have done more without COVID and the implications of that. So we're now strengthening from a huge position of strength, and it's really, really exciting.
Matty, we've obviously got Michael Edwards back in some form. He's not. I mean, Richard Hughes has taken over his old position, but this has that kind of feel to it of Michael Edwards. The way he went about his business the first time, you can almost look at it and think he's got his fingerprints all over this. The way he's good friends, obviously, and works well with Richard Hughes. And yes, there was lots of memes and things on social media that Richard Hughes just had a pipe and slippers and has done nothing for 12 months. Where obviously behind the scenes, they've obviously been really careful about who they pick, when they strike, how much they pay, etc. And it just seems he's got his fingerprints still all over it again. And it's been clinical, hasn't it, over the summer?
Yeah, and I think Liverpool are in a very blessed position that we ultimately have two sporting directors, because Michael Edwards is the CEO of FSG, but they haven't bought anyone else yet. So he's as full attentions at Liverpool. And we all knew how good he was last time. He's probably the most sought after sporting director in world football, and his model is being replicated around the world now. And I do think that having him there with Richard Hughes has helped massively. I think when FSG do buy another club, he'll still have that influence. Liverpool are obviously going to be the pinnacle for FSG with all the other clubs behind him. And what I'm excited for with Michael Edwards in that capacity would be that he's going to then go and get all the players before they go to make that big move. So you're probably going to be getting players that Brighton are buying now who are nobodies, and then eventually they're going to be massive players. And I think because once we do have that model with Michael Edwards, we're going to be a force to be reckoned with. I think we already are. Bringing him back, I mean, it was interesting to bring him back, and it'd be interesting to see why him and Klopp did fall out. Was it purely the Jordan Henderson contract situation and Klopp being too loyal? And it makes you think, like, was that to our detriment? I mean, yeah, how you love Jurgen Klopp, got the man tattooed onto me, but just make you guess, like, why is that? If he wouldn't have been so stubborn with his loyalty towards players, how much more could he have won? If that makes sense, because I think Klopp was extremely loyal, but if he weren't loyal and this money was there for him, what could we have done? I think that's the only question for me. But Michael Edwards there's no one else you'd have in world football. You think of other sporting directors, you go into a club, you think is it Dan Ashworth who went to Newcastle? He's very, very highly thought of, and then went to United lasted a few months, and then he left there. And it seems like sporting directors chop and change all the time. Newcastle don't have one at the minute, and I believe it's Eddie Howe doing the transfers. So to have someone like Michael Edwards at Liverpool, and he clearly does love the club. He's come back for a second stint. He's got a fantastic relationship with FSG. It's only going to benefit us. And when they do start buying other clubs, like I said, he's then going to go and be buying the next generation of talents that other clubs are now buying. I think people like Brighton and Brentford, to an extent, and teams like that, they're probably worried about Liverpool going into the multi-club model, because although City do it, you don't really see anyone come through, and they fudge the books when they do bring people through, like they did with Savinho. But I know Red Bull do it, but not to the extent that I think Liverpool will. I think Liverpool will go and buy really, really good, talented youngsters and put them in our second team, third team, fourth team, and develop them. I think that's where you'd utilise. If you don't get a team in France, you'd utilise loan and your Jaden Danzers and your Ben Dokes to them and allow them to develop in European football. I think though, which I don't know if it will with Rob and Ryan now, but I think Liverpool did used to use Wrexham quite a lot as well. And I think the higher they've now went, I think Michael Edwards will probably, given the American base of our club, I think that it wouldn't shock me if they started doing bits with Wrexham and loaning Wrexham some of our highly thought of players and allowing them to develop and command the ranks as well. So Michael Edwards got fantastic relationships with everyone in football, and I think it shows how good of a club Liverpool are having someone like him at the helm. I think Richard Hughes still probably, I think he's probably had a year of shadowing Michael Edwards to see how you transfer. I think they left him to it last summer. It hasn't worked, and he's went, right, I'm back this year and you're learning off me. It paid off, hasn't it?
The LFC Total Red Football Podcast is available wherever you get your podcasts from. Also available on your smart speaker, or you can watch us on YouTube.
Just on the Wrexham link, I did read some rumours that they were interested in Owen Beck, but that now seems to have cooled a lot because there's a price tag out there of 10 million, and potentially off to Rangers, and I can see why that would put teams in the Championship off. That's a lot of money. But there was rumours, potentially of signing a new deal at Liverpool and then coming on loan. But that does, like I say, that does seem to have cooled.
So I think there was an update on that.
Yeah,
sorry. I think there was an update on that. I think Derby. There's talk about a loan to Derby that's just come out this evening. So.
Yeah, I know Wrexham have signed a different left back now, so it's academic. But the potential is there to loan out at that level now because they've moved up, and Liverpool do need that kind of a step down, I suppose, for them to develop more. We've seen it with other players. I will get on and talk about Hugo Ekitike. I'm going to trip myself up. I'm sure I am loads with that name. Hopefully, we'll get used to saying it as he scores loads of goals. But obviously, in the last few days, it's become apparent that Liverpool are in for him. And although there was murmurs that he could go to Newcastle, Liverpool have come in 63 million plus add-ons. If you look at it the other way, it's about 93 million euro with the add-ons. So it's whichever way you want to look at the price. But Kev, I'll come to you first. This lad, he's only 23, but he's 6'3", and he seems hungry to come in and do well. It's what's your take on
him? Very confident lad. Confident, abundance of confidence. Didn't work out at PSG, goes away, plays for Frankfurt, and has played really well. He looks, for me, he looks a little bit like a David Trezeguet kind of player, in a way. But there's no doubt, and I know people go, well, he hasn't got a French cap. All I'll say to that is go and look at the French forward line and tell me how he's going to get in, because it's just ridiculous what it's been for the last 5 years. So good luck trying to get into that. Unless you're Mbappe, there's no one getting in there. At least he hasn't got in there. So that says how good it is. So that doesn't bother me. He had a good season last season for Frankfurt. I've only seen a few games of him. Looks though he's got pace. He's got intelligence. He looks though he likes to come back and assist and help out with that. He can act as a lone striker. He can act in a two, which he did with Mamouche at City, is it? That he was his partner. This just breeds, this just tells me that we're just, we're buying it. Even if we don't get Isaac, we're getting the next Isaac. That's just around the corner, and it's a win-win situation for us in that sense. I think you've got a player who's it's a World Cup season as well, so I think that's played into it as well. I think we're doing quite a bit of business now, so that we don't have to do much next summer. Your team's already fully built and established, and this lad's just going to come in and do well. Don't get me wrong. I think there will be pressure on him. But at the same time, he'll be given time because he's only 22, 23, 6-year contract. We've done it with Nunes, and we'll do it with him. We'll take our time with him and we'll bed him in. But I don't think it'll take him long to bed in, especially when you've got the quality that's around him. And that's where I think that's going to be different in this season. The price tag is what the price tag is. Unfortunately, it seems as though it's a limited area and a sparse area for strikers and quality strikers. I think we've got one of the best. I think if we didn't get a Tikite or Isaac, I don't know where we would have went. I don't know whether Sesko would have been the one I would have went for. I don't know. I don't know what the lad's takes on that would be. But for me personally, I think he's the perfect fit for us. He's got a bit of pace, and I'll be honest, we don't need. Although it's great to have someone like an Isaac up front, with the quality we've got, I don't think you need someone of that. This little project you've got for the next 2 years, he will develop into one of hopefully a great striker for us. And I think it plays into the fluidity that we're looking to play, especially up front, and the pressure that we'll be putting on teams on the forward foot that he'll be able to help out with as well. So I think it's a win-win situation. I'm excited to see him in pre-season.
I've done some reading up about him, and I read a piece that says he can drop in behind like Firmino did. He can play alone, or in a 2 up front. He can also play transitional football in a possession-centric side. So it looks like he can do 2 or 3 different things. And I've come to look at Slot and think that's what he likes, a player who can play multiple positions, basically. If it's not working straight down the middle, he can move him to one side slightly or tell him to drop off slightly and then add somebody else in. Matty, that seems to be... I mean, look at Frimpong as well. We know he can play right back. We know he can play on the wing. Kirkes is going to be bombing up the other side. You got Wirtz now, who's probably... I'm not going to say he's going to have a free role, but it looks like he's going to be able to roam around a little bit and just create. So there seems scope now to open up the attacking part of the field, and I think Ekitike could slot in nicely in a multitude of positions.
Yeah, I'm not as sold on him as others,
No?
to be honest with you. No, I don't know if it was because I was all going to go for Isaac, which I do still think Liverpool get Isaac. I think we'll just pull a mad summer and we will go and get Isaac. It looks like he's trying to force that move, but I can't say I've watched much of him. I'm not even going to try and pronounce his name, but I did watch him against Spurs in the Europa League, and I seen him blank against probably one of the worst defences in the Premier League, and he weren't very good. And that's the only thing that does worry me, that the games where I have seen him, he hasn't been like, oh my God, we need to go and sign him now. You can look at his stats and the stats look good, and you can see highlight reels and they look good, but I'm still scarred from Darwin Núñez, who looked like an absolute whaley on highlight reels. And the difference with Núñez is he came to Anfield and bullied Van Dijk, and then we haven't seen that when he's come. So I'm holding reservations. I wasn't keen when we got Mo Salah, and that's obviously proved to be wrong. So Michael Edwards behind it. Like I said before, I've got every faith in the man to bring the best players into Liverpool. But with this one, I am just a little bit reserved about it. I don't like tall, big, lanky strikers. It didn't work with Benteke. It hasn't worked with Núñez. I just don't like them type of strikers. I prefer someone like Firmino who's got a bit of flair about him. I just prefer that style of footballer than this big, long, dangly thing. The only long, dangly striker I've actually really liked at Liverpool is Peter Crouch, to be fair. I think he was brilliant for us. But just for that alone, I'm a little bit torn with him. I don't want to sit and say I'm dead excited. I mean, his stats look good. His highlight reels look good. But I was fully invested in Darwin Núñez after watching highlight reels, and I'm just not prepared to be hurt again. So I agree with like what Kev said. I don't think there's a need with this side to bring a world-class striker in who's ready like an Isaac, because you've got Vert behind him. You're going to have Salah, probably Rio Nugamo on the left as well, alternating. If Diaz does go, you get Rodrigo. So I think you can get goals from elsewhere within your side, and Liverpool's formidably being a team that doesn't rely on a striker for goals. But I am conscious in the back of my mind that in the next year, 2 years, we do need to start finding goals from somewhere, because Mo Salah's going to go, and you take him out the team, and then it's a big worry. So you need anyone who comes in really to be hitting. Say him and Rodrigo come in, really you need to be them both to be hitting 20 goals a season to even match what Mo's been delivering for us over the years. And that's me only worry. I just don't see him as a 20 goal a year striker. And I'm happy to be proved wrong. I'm happy to sit here in a year's time and go, he's won us the league. Michael Edwards has done it again. But for me, I am just a bit reserved, to be honest with you. Like, when I have seen him, he hasn't massively impressed me. So I don't know where to get these highlight reels from, because even in the Olympics, he was good for France, but he wasn't one of them you're like, oh my God, go and buy him sort of thing. And that's me only worry, the money we're spending. But it is a saturated market outside of Isaac and Akiti and Mbeumo who's gone. There's not much movement in strikers, to be fair. But for me, I would have rather us went and got someone like a Liam Delap or something. That's just a profile of striker I prefer, like just small and powerful rather than some big dangly thing. And if I'm wrong, but I'm just not. I'm not as excited as other fans. Like, you see people on Twitter, like he's this big saving grace who's going to come in and score 60 goals for you. I just don't see it. I hope I'm wrong, but
I just want 59.
Yeah, we'll just say 59, 58 even, just at a push. No, I think it's fair to give another side to it, because at the end of the day, we're all fans and we all like different things, although we all like the same team. We all like potentially a different style of play, or maybe a different manager, different striker, etc. So it's nice to have a balance of maybe why this might not work. We all want it to work. Whether he's the number one striker and they go for somebody else, I have no idea. Like I say, I don't know Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes personally, so they're not going to tell me. We just see it when players sign.
Like and subscribe to the LFC Total Red Football Podcast on YouTube.
Neil, I'll just ask you about it. When I looked for last year, 15 goals in the Bundesliga, 8 assists in 31 games, totaling the 5th most goal involvements in the division. So he's got an eye for goal. Now, we all know, coming from Germany or any other European league, to be honest, coming to the Premier League is hard. It's not a simple transition, and that goes for Wirtz. It goes, for any player that's coming in. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a big success. Hopefully it is. Do you think the same as Matty, or do you think maybe the same as Kev and the majority of the others, that he's going to be a success?
I like him. There's a number of things that I find him really interesting, because he's a big man, but he's got a lot of attributes. He's so good on the ball. He's so skillful. He's got great dribbling skills. Now, if you look at it, I think Liverpool like a player that's had a knockback in their career. So I think Kev mentioned it earlier that it didn't work for him at PSG, and he's come back from that, and he has done well at Frankfurt. As you say, sometimes the transition to the Premier League is a difficult one. I think we feel more sensitive about that at the moment because of the situation with Darwin. I think probably there have been some big success stories coming out of the Bundesliga into the Premier League. Kevin De Bruyne being one of them. So I feel smug in the knowledge that we've got the best people behind the scenes picking these players. So I don't have any concerns that they, I don't have any concerns about the transition, because I think, these guys really know what they're talking about, as does the Frankfurt sporting director, because I think if you look at the business he's done, I think it was Kolo Muani was there, then Mamouche, and now Ekitike. He's made them a huge amount of money talking about good sporting directors. So, look, the price tag is big for what he's achieved so far in his career. I think part of that was because PSG had a 20% sell-on clause. And it is reflective, as the guys have said, about the market as it is. I think up until the signing of him, everything has been about maximising the next 2 years with Mo and with Virgil. And this signing seems to look a bit more to the future. He's not a baby. He's 23-year-old, but he's not. I don't think he's necessarily someone that we're going to bank on immediately, which is why I think we probably will sign another striker. As to who that will be, we'll have to wait and see. as I say, he's got brilliant attributes. He's tall, so that helps offensively. That helps defensively. He's very skillful. He links play well. He will drop deep. He will work hard, and he will bring other players into the game. He's got fabulous dribbling skills. So there's a really exciting profile. The one thing that would worry me about him is his strength, because when I've seen him, and I've seen him play well, but I watched the game that Matty was referring to against Spurs at home. He was a bit lightweight for me. So I think that would be my one concern. And I'm sure we'll work on it. You see, our players bulking up all the time, but that would be my one concern. But on the whole, as I say, I feel smug that we've got those guys behind the scenes making the decisions. So I think it'll be a positive signing.
Fair enough. I've got to be honest, we're at 40 minutes in the show, and I never expected to be this far without going through the other subjects. So I will try and fit all of them in, I'll be honest. They played a game yesterday, and we've already mentioned Darwin Núñez. Matty's said about him, he hasn't lived up to the hype and everything. They played a game yesterday against Stoke City behind closed doors. He scored a hat-trick in that game, and I started to think to myself, is there any chance for him? So I'll start with you, Matty. Is there the door still open for him at Liverpool, or is he a goner? Is he going? Because there's lots of speculation with Saudi or Napoli or something like that. Is he staying? Is there a chance for him with this new setup?
No, I'd love there to be, because to be fair, even against Preston, he did look sharp when he came on, and then I didn't watch the Stoke game, but then you see that he scored a hat-trick behind closed doors, and maybe buzz cut Darwin's what we've been waiting for. But I think he's just past it now. We've given too many seasons every year. Like, come on, Darwin, just one more season. I do think he'd do very, very well with Vert behind him. I do believe that. You then go and bring Rodrigo in. I think he offers that little bit more than Diaz. So I would have liked to have seen him with Vert behind him and with like a Rodrigo and things, and I do think he would have done well, but I just think the time's right for him to go. I just don't think he's Premier. I think his confidence with Liverpool's not too much. I think if he was to go to Spain, Atletico Madrid was perfect for him. I think if he would have went there, we would have been kicking ourselves like, why did we sell him? He's doing unbelievable. I just think with the British press and stuff like that, he's a player who seems to wear his heart completely on his sleeve, and I think that's destroyed him mentally in the English game. And it's a shame. You can't knock the lad's effort, to be fair. When he comes on, he gives it 100%, and the fans do love that. Like, he's the worst player I've seen be supported for so long at Liverpool, I think, in my life. Like, fans will get on players back if they're just not up to scratch. But with Núñez, he's always had that support. The fans have always been there trying to spare him on, but I've seen him miss open goals and stuff, and I'm just fed up of it now. I think he is done. It's a shame, because I do think that if you would have given him this team 2 seasons ago, we're probably talking about potentially one of the best strikers in Europe. Because he's got that potential. He's still young enough. He's definitely got that potential. And I think that'll show when Liverpool sell him, whether we sell him to Saudi or whether we sell him to Italy or sell him to Spain. I think you're talking 50-60 million for him, because the potential is still there. He's one of the fastest footballers you'll ever see. His work ethic's there, but I just think he just needs to get out of England. I don't think he can handle the English press, and I think we've seen that. And a few times when he has had a bad game, and a few fans have got on his back, and then he's went and deleted all the stuff off social media and stuff. I think he just needs to get away from England, and he'll do really well. Atletico Madrid are the perfect side for him. I'd said a few months ago, if he goes to Atletico Madrid, I wouldn't rule them out challenging for the league, even considering how good of a side Madrid are now. But I think he just needs to get away from our media, basically. I think if he would have signed for Liverpool this summer, we would have had a different Darwin. I think the potential's there. He looked really sharp against Preston. I've seen a few highlights of the Stoke game, and he looked really good, but it's just a shame, really. I really like him, to be honest. I do really, really like him, but just to me, just proved me point around long dangly strikers not being good enough.
Kev, have you introduced him to your barbers? Because he's got a buzz cut just like yours. So obviously you introduced him and tell him, listen, mate, shave your head off. You could be as popular as Kev.
He can do whatever he wants. It's still not going to change what he is. Sadly, I'm made up. He scored him. it just I hope hopefully it puts people in a perspective of, well, we'll forget what he's happened before and see how ruthless he is now, and we'll pay the money that we're asking for him. I can't disagree with what Matty said. A lot of it makes sense. For me, I don't think he was set up for us. I think he adapted more to us than what we did formation-wise to him. We expected him to be a number 9. He isn't. He's a player that comes in from the left. He scores predominantly from the left. He was not set up for Liverpool's way of playing, and that's been proved over the last two seasons. The last season with Klopp and this season, don't get me wrong, I still won't take away any of the goals he scored, because he has scored some ruthless goals. Brentford away being one. There's many more that he's actually scored in, but it's not consistent enough. And at this level of game and where we are at the minute, it's not good enough. 10 years ago, he would be perfect and we wouldn't be having this conversation, and we'd be devastated if anyone coming in for him. But this club has moved on, and we can't be sat loyal as we have done over the past 4 or 5 seasons. We can't do that. We've got to be ruthless, and this is the moment, this is the time, and this is where we move on. Sadly, it hasn't worked out for him. I wish him well. I think it will work out for him elsewhere, because the game elsewhere isn't as fast, and it's not intelligent for him to not do well in. He will be an absolute star, and I expect him to come back and show us like he did when he was playing for Benfica. But for me, we move on and we say goodbye and we pass him on to someone else. And hopefully he plays better. I hope he goes back to Portugal. I'd like him to go where Matty said as well, Spain as well, or under Atletico Madrid. That Atletico Madrid would be absolutely settled for him. Simone, you can imagine the dark arts and having someone like Nunes up front as well being part of that. It's just playing into that mindset. And, I wish him well, but no, we move on.
So, okay then, Neil, do you agree with the other two lads, or do you think he could be, I don't want to say it as bluntly as this, but it's the only way I can think of it really, is like maybe stepping into Jota's shoes, kind of just sit back. He's going to be the one that comes off the bench. He's not going to be the first choice. Maybe, Ekatike or, something like that, this new formation. Could he work with these new players? Or do you agree with the other two that it's just time to cut your losses and say, right, we've got to move on?
So at the end of the season, there was no doubt in my mind that he would be moved on, and that would be the right thing for the club, and that would be the right thing for Darwin Núñez, because he needs to move as much as we would like to move him on. There's been too many false dawns, too many times you thought, right, this is the point that he's going to really kick on now. I think Brentford was probably the last one where he grabbed the 2 goals late on. So at the end of last season, there was no doubt in my mind, 100%, he should leave for the club's benefit and for his own benefit. Now, we have unfortunately encountered this terrible scenario with Diogo. And that's not something that was planned for. So I don't think the possibility of him staying as an option can be ruled out, because it was an unplanned scenario. I think the price tag that we're asking for is probably quite high, which means that we might not get the suitors that we expect. So I do see a scenario where he potentially stays. I think the likelihood is still that he will leave, but I wouldn't be surprised if he did stay. However, I would caveat that with, if he is going to play the part of someone coming off the bench and not being first choice, I'm not sure he's got the mentality to be able to cope with that, because I think we saw it towards the end of last season. He wasn't getting any starts. The head was down. He missed the chance against Aston Villa, and even the manager, or the head coach, I should say, commented on it. So, yes, I see a scenario where he could stay. I don't think he will. And I don't think it would work out very well if he wasn't considered to be the first choice striker, which he shouldn't be.
You're listening to the LFC Total Red Football Podcast.
it's one of those unfortunate, like Matty said at the beginning. You know, he's had 3 seasons now, 2 different managers, 3 seasons, different players around him a little bit, and it just hasn't quite worked. So I can see that probably in moving on, but you know, obviously we'll see by the end of the transfer window. Another player that has got speculation about him leaving is Federico Chiesa. Played in the game against Stoke, scored a goal. Again, I haven't seen any of these goals, so I don't know if it was good or bad or just a tap in, etc. Lots of speculation that he's going back to Italy. Again, I'll quickly come around the 3 of you. So, Kev, I'll start with you. Can you see a situation where he's going to stay? Or do you think he's definitely gone? To be honest, I'll give you my opinion. I quite like the guy. He always seems to have a smile on his face, and I think if he was given extended minutes, I think he could actually do a decent job for Liverpool. Whether he's going to be their star player is a different thing, but I actually think maybe he could take up the role of coming off the bench, because he hardly did that in the last season. He didn't play hardly any. So can you see a scenario where he stays?
I'd like to say yeah, because he's still got 4 years left at the club.
Yeah.
He's still got 4 years left on a 5-year contract. But with him not being part of our actual pre-season, I see. It's frustrating with me with Chiesa, because there's times where I go down this route of I love him and I want him to stay, and then I see performances when he does come on, and albeit he's in a team that's just won the league and he's getting a few minutes, but he frustrates me when he's on the pitch, because I know what the player can do, and there's no reason why he can't do it. But for some reason, he can't do it in this team. Now, I don't know whether that's down to me, and I'm hoping and praying that I'm still looking at the Chiesa before he got his ACL injury, or what. But for me, I thought he'd still be here, and I don't know. It's one of them with Chiesa with me. I really want it to work, because I want to see an Italian actually do well at this club, because we haven't had any that have, and it would be great just to see at least one of them to take it and go with it. I can't see it. I think he goes near the end of the window. If not, it'll be January. But his minutes will be, and we'll still be having this same conversation. And I hear it in the stands as well every time what you've said, Kings. And that's what annoys me, is that I'm hearing it constantly, but I can't, for some reason, I can't see it happening and developing in the way it should do. And it's bugging me, because I think there is definitely a player there, but for whatever reason, we can't get it out of him. So, and his goal yesterday was about 2 yards out. I think all the goals were at the remnants of their count against United with the Zatzek, where there was about 4 yards or 4 inches. So, for me personally, I'd love him to stay, but that's me heart over me head. My head saying that he's going at the end of the season. He'll definitely won't be here by next season. I think he'll be gone either at the end of this window or the January one, sadly.
So, Matty, do you agree with Kev? I can see you nodding along, so I'm assuming you do. Or do you think there is a chance to say, listen, there's new players coming in up front, can he blend with them, and could he have an extra season?
I think if you would have asked me at the end of last season, I thought he was gone. Then we had the news on Jota, and I thought, well, I think Chiesa's gonna stay and take that role up. And then he hasn't went on the preseason tour. So people saying he's injured. If he's played 2 games for us and he's injured already, then I don't want someone like that anyway. But I think it speaks volumes that he hasn't, like Kev said, he hasn't went on that tour. Because when we got him last year, we were sold the story of how he was not fit. He needed a pre-season in order to play for us. We're going to have that same rigmarole again. I'll be absolutely gutted if he goes, because we do need another season of the Chiesa song. That was the soundtrack to us winning the league. Everywhere you went, after we lifted that league, every single bar you went into in town was just that song bouncing, and it's a proper ram. It's one of my favourite songs I think ever. And I just think we're robbed if we only have like 3 months of it and not a year. So I want him to stay just for one more season so we can sing that song for another season, because it needs to be sung, to be honest. But I do think he's a goner. This tour speaks volumes. But again, I think he's another one who I think we'll price a lot of teams out, you know. I think they're going to want like 20, 25 mil for him, and people are going to look at him and think, well, you only played 6 games last season in the whole season, and then you're injured.
Yeah, but he's a league champion winning. You know, he's won the league with them. He's got the medal to prove it. So his value has to go up, doesn't it?
I think you'd only sell him to someone like Italy, and I think if he went to Italy, the side I think that they haven't even been linked to him yet, but it just strikes me as someone who might go in for him is Como, because they're absolutely minted. They'd like a player like that who is proven in Italy. He's an experienced pro. He plays for the Italian national team when he's fit. He's won the league at Liverpool, and before his ACL, he was probably arguably one of the hottest prospects in football. So I think a side like that, if they were to come in, he'd go. But I think he's already gone. There's no explanation as to why he's not went on that tour. So it's in my head. I think he's already gone.
Okay, Neil, do you agree with the lads? Or do you think he's going to get the chance this season?
No, I think the pre-season tour and being left out of that, there were reports that he had a minor injury. Well, if it's minor, you'd probably still travel.
Yeah.
So,
I was going to say he scored late in the second half against Stoke.
Yeah, exactly. That's the other thing.
He injured early on, is it?
Yeah. So it seems to me that he's been left out and sort of told, you know, we're going to try and find a deal to get you playing somewhere next season. I'm disappointed. I think anyone that watched him in the early part of his career, I think it was Fiorentina, and then Juve, and then in the Euros, he was arguably Italy's best player when they won the Euros. Yeah, you thought, well, we might have picked up a bargain here, but hasn't really worked out. And I'll be honest, I've been disappointed that he's not played more, because I think there is a very, very talented player within, but we don't get to see what goes on behind the scenes, and what they're seeing in terms of his fitness and his metrics. So either, you know, I'm concerned about the amount of change that we're potentially having across our forwards, but even if we were to retain him, I'm not convinced that he would be. You know, last season we very much used 5 forwards, and they all played a lot of minutes, some more than others, but primarily the 5 of them played. I don't see him being one of the 5 this season. I still think he would be on the periphery, based on the fact that he just didn't really get a look in last season. And I think this was the message, that he probably will be off, sadly.
That's fair enough. I mean, in the next few weeks, we're going to see about Darwin Núñez and Chiesa as well, maybe even Luis Diaz. So we will see over the remaining window what happens with these, because if they all go, then there still needs to be another turnover of players to replace some of them at least.
You can follow the LFC Total Red Football Podcast on X, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok.
The last thing I was going to talk about, lads, was the formation. Now, in pre-season, in most clubs, you get a variation. You know, sometimes his kids play with the first teamers. Sometimes his kids play the first half, then they swap for the first teamers, second half, etc. And they always try new ideas. So that happened in the game yesterday, apparently. You know, there was different formations played. With these players coming in, I'll come to you first, Matty. Can you see a different formation completely this time, instead of like what Slot did last year with the players he was given, basically, you know, and what we're used to over the last few years with Klopp? Can you see a fixed formation? If so, what type? Or can you see maybe a fluid formation where he changes in the middle of a game?
I think we'll see more of a fluid formation. I think Liverpool last year, though, we won the league dominantly and was very, very good, we still struggled against them low block sides. I think bringing a player in like Vert unlocks the team a bit more against them low block sides.
Yeah.
But you've got to cater to him as well. I think Vert will play very well in the 10, but I think there'll be games you think, say, like Leeds United away or Burnley away, games like that where you need to release the low block. I think that's where you'll see more of a fluid formation and Vert maybe playing more advanced as like a false nine type player. I think that it shows you don't go and spend 120 odd million pounds on a player when, I'm not saying, I know a lot of the jury's out for Szoboszlai for quite a few people, but he is the exact same position as Dominic Szoboszlai, who you went and spent 60 million on 2 years ago. So I think you are going to see different formations for Liverpool. I think you'll see players who you maybe didn't expect to see feature next year. Like I think Rio Nagmoa is going to play a good chunk of minutes, despite the fact he's only 16. I think he's ready, and players like that you're going to have to adapt to their play styles. I think we did see with Slot last year, he changed the game a lot at half time in a lot of games. I think Liverpool were a much better second half side last season than they were like under Klopp, who had just come out off the block straight away. I think the game management was better as well, and I do think you are going to see him trial a few formations throughout this tour, and I do think you're going to see a few formations next year. And it could be that there's games where we are the traditional 4-2-3-1, and there might be games where you've just got 4 with then like Gravenberch, but then with say McAllister and Wirt, or even Szoboszlai and Wirt. I wouldn't rule out seeing them two play together and playing with the 2 10s and giving Maka a rest, which we needed to do last season anyway. The lad was done by the end of the season, and I think we'll see more game management that way. And I think it'll be the midfield you see change more in terms of how that's set up than anywhere else on the pitch. I do think you're probably going to see Frimpong play as quite more like a right midfielder, and I think that might be why we might not get an Isaac, and you might see Salah drop into the middle a bit more, so you can play Bradley and Frimpong and channel that, because Frimpong can play down the right wing as well. So I think you're going to see a lot of players playing positions you don't even think, and like you said before about slot-like and players who like to play in other positions, I think that's what we'll see. You might see a game where you see Bradley and Frimpong start, and you think, what's he doing? And then we go and win the game like 4-0 or something, and Frimpong gets 3 assists. I think there's just so much dynamic within this side. Same with Kerkez. I think he can play more of a left winger as well, and you can play Robbo behind him as more like a sitting defender. And there might be games where we even play like Robbo, Van Dijk, and Canate as like a back three. He played Robertson as a left centre back against Preston, so I do think it's something he's trying out to maybe see, can you fit into that centre back slot and give us another 12 months before we have to then go and buy centre back. So I think you're going to see an array of formations. I think when you look at what Feyenoord fans said about Slot, he came in, I think he was at the Conference League he won, then sold off the team, and then got the players he wanted, and then went and won the league. And it was what he said, like his formation changes and everything within games. He's meant to be one of the best game management managers there is around, and I think we'll start to see that next year. I think he surpassed his own expectations last year by winning the Premier League. So who knows what he's got up his sleeve this year? I think number 7's coming, to be honest.
Neil, I read a piece. I'll just quickly look now. It says in a 4-2-3-1, Frimpong's aggressive wing play on the right could free Salah to drift on the inside, which Matty's just said, and operate like a split striker alongside Ekitike, with Vert and a number 8 sitting just behind. Now that's completely alien to watch for Liverpool fans, because obviously Salah's on the right all the time, mainly. If Bradley and Frimpong do that on the right and Salah comes in a little bit, this really could be transformational for Liverpool up front. When we had the 3, with Firmino, Mane and Salah, and they did interchange a little bit, obviously they helped each other out, and that was fantastic to watch, because in a way you got bamboozled by one, 10 minutes later they had somebody else to deal with, and it kind of really made a difference up front. If that's a similar kind of thing that Slot's thinking, where you can interchange during the game, change the formation so you're up against different players all the time, that's a real headache for opposition sides to plan against, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a massive headache. And just watching it was only very short highlights that I saw of yesterday's game. It was so fluid. I was trying to work out where people were playing, and even by the end of it, I wasn't totally sure. So, yeah, I think he's very clever. I actually, when Jurgen left, I actually said to people, and people were surprised, that I actually thought tactically we might improve, and I think we have done as a team, and it's exciting to see what kind of tactics, what kind of formation he deploys. I think it will depend very much on the opponent. And we may well see at times, because with Frimpong and Kirkes, their best attributes are in attack. Both are very good crossers of the ball. Kirkes is a fantastic crosser of the ball. So it would make sense to get them in advanced positions where they're delivering. So yeah, I don't think we could rule out variation from game to game, but also variation in game as well. And if that means that Mo is deployed slightly more centrally, it might mean less defensive work for him again, without having to have, to almost sacrifice Szoboszlai, who filled in for him a lot on that right side of midfield and got widely criticised at times for it, sometimes by myself. So yeah, I think we'll see variation, as I say, from game to game, but also in game. And it feels like the two players we've bought as fullbacks are more wing backs, and we will benefit from them going forward more than anything. So I think what we also might see is Gravenberch then drop in and make up kind of a back three when we're attacking down the flanks. But yeah, that certainly leads to a situation where perhaps Mo does slot inside a little bit, and he can cause some chaos in and around Ekitike. But yeah, so if you're a manager planning to play against Liverpool and they've got all these different weapons that you don't know how they're going to deploy them, it's going to be an absolute nightmare to face, because it is very, very difficult to plan. One time it might be Frimpong, as Matty said, playing right midfield. One time it might be Connor Bradley playing right back. You're just not going to know how to plan against that.
Okay. To be fair, I'm excited about this. And I was going to say to you, Kev, I know Matty, you go to, if not all, most of the games. So I was going to say to you, Kev, as a season ticket holder, are you excited to see how this is going to pan out over the season now? Because you're going to see it like week in, week out. I know lots of us who can't get to Anfield all the time can watch it on the TV, but you're there watching it. Are you excited to see how this is going to adapt itself, I suppose, over the season?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think it'll be as methodical as what it was last season. I think what game stands out for me and where I think he's looking at as to how he wants to improve this team is the PSG game, I know. And those two PSG games have set a precedent and a template for the style and the manner of how he wants to play. And you can see that how he's adapted this team now, and how he's putting pace in certain areas. Creativity's being moved. I think you're going to see us suffocating teams quite a lot. So I think playing three at the back is going to be quite integral to how we play. We're going to have a box midfield. You'll have two there, and then a further two up front. And then you'll probably see Wirtz playing. I would take wherever Wirtz is put down as to where he's actually playing out of it. I think he'll be given some kind of freestyle role. I think you've got to look at the pressure that this team's going to have, and the pressure that we can actually can get in getting that ball back. It'll be similar to what we had on with Sadio Mane, with Mane, Firmino, and Salah, but this is going to be an even bigger upgrade, because you're going to have a lot of them with that pressing sense, that with the pace to match as well, and the technical ability to find players. So I think you're going to start seeing us playing in that way, especially at home, in which we'll be dominant in those games. That's why I think I feel we are going to go more towards the three at the back. That gives you more room and more variance in doing that. And that's how you. And then if you look at the fluidity that we've got up front, not everyone's going to be set and moulded into, well, you just stay there. If you look at that front three now, whoever you go with, there's enough diversity within there and flexibility that you can actually manoeuvre them around. You'll probably see Wirtz on the left-hand side, because he creates a lot on the left-hand side. Predominantly is the most passes he's had, and the most creativeness has come from the left-hand side of the pitch. So you'll see him going freely through. It's going to cause chaos. It's going to be like Nunes, but with brains. It's going to be absolutely unprecedented what this is going to be. And then you've got to work out that you've also got the pace of Frimpong, and you've also got the pace of Kirkes to get back to counter any to any counter-attacking as well. This is going to be very much 5-6 chess that I am absolutely well and truly can't wait to start to watch, because last season I don't think that's how Slot wanted to play. I think he was kind of tentative of playing this style of play. I think we're going to start seeing it going forward because he's got the players he wants now, and this is just going to be, honestly, it's going to be suffocating. I wouldn't be surprised if by half time we're 4-5-0 up in games and then we're managing it. You look how we managed the games last season. I think there's going to be more control on that. People are going to be fearful of the attacking sense of what Liverpool do, but that will allow a Gravenberch or a McAllister or who's ever playing in that block midfield to run beyond the forwards, and the chaos that's been caused already will be caused even more when you've got a further two running into there. I think it's going to be really exciting. It's going to be very dynamic. It's going to be something new. It's going to be a 2.0 gegenpressing. This is going to be heavy metal, better, I think, and it's going to be adapted, and it's going to be ruthless at times. And it wouldn't be possible if we didn't play PSG and how they played. And that's the template of how we're going to be playing going forward.
Well, I hope you're right. And it is going to be heavy metal 2.0, and it is going to be, exciting to watch. And that's what we all want. We want these players now. Obviously, as we said, they've been scouted, they've been brought in, and hopefully they are going to all perform. And hopefully we can do a back-to-back minimum. I would like the back-to-back, the Champions League, the League Cup, and the FA Cup. Why not take them all, and the Charity Shield, just to add it in, because some managers out there now claim that as a big top trophy. So it's like, well, throw it in the pile as well, and let's have it all. I want to thank Neil, Matty, and Kev so much for coming on this week's show. It's been a pleasure chatting to you, lads. Thank you very much. For any new listeners out on the audio version or any new views on YouTube, welcome along, and hopefully you'll stick with us as we continue to grow the LFC Total Red Football Podcast. You can like and subscribe on YouTube. You can follow us on TikTok, or the audio version is on Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcast from. So please give us a listen, and I'm hoping you won't be disappointed. Until next week, have a good week, everybody.
Thanks for listening. Join us next time for more LFC Total Red Football Podcast.